Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's a brisk day. We go back and forth between 80 and today it's 57 degrees and the humidity's 28. Not bad. And the wind, such as it is 2 miles an hour. Not noticeable. Not among at least the tree branches that I'm walking past, as the leaves have evacuated the area. So, those of you who have resumed your normal posture and left the fetal position behind, how do we go on from here? And because I worked long on Friday, I did a sit and talk, which I think laid out some of my basic feelings. So instead of repeating any of that, let me supplant additional information for the joy of our dirt road gang. It's always amazing to me how the instant something is over, somebody is prepared to attack somebody else so they're not considered to be responsible in any way for what happened wrong. So, for example, DNC officials have called the Harris camp a $1 billion disaster. So they're putting what went wrong in the sense of losing on the campaign, the 100-day campaign, or whatever the period of days were. And it's pretty bad. They call it an epic disaster. Whereas some other people seem to have it directed in the correct location. 4 of ABC's co-hosts on The View appeared wearing black. And one of the observations, which I thought was useful, was that it was a referendum on cultural resentment. And I think that's part of it. I do. And it does appear that the cultural saber rattling was strongly discriminatory, hard on women, hard on anybody of a different color, hard on people who have an expressed dissonant sexual preference as compared to what is accepted in the Republican circles. But I think they also did some deep down work on creating splits and tensions within groups. And in the message that I sent out earlier, I was talking about how the notion of putting women in their place, as Trump did, they think would resonate with young men who came and voted, perhaps for that reason. They split the Hispanics by saying, you who are here legally are suffering from these migrant Hispanics. So they made it a zero-sum game. And then they very successfully called out maybe all law and all court proceedings that could go against Trump or any of his corrupt minions. And so these messages are things that we can't wrap our arms around, because we're never going to concede the fact that, I certainly hope not, that women are equal and that you can't have them subordinate as the campaign would have it, even if it helped them win. You cannot split groups in such a way that they turn against each other. You cannot say that justice should not be done and there should not be a reckoning for Trump, as there very well should be, must be, and is endangered perhaps not to happen. Now, another thing that's interesting is how we, Dems, and perhaps others, I don't know, independents, some Republicans, are of the view that Sonia Sotomayor should leave the court so in the days ahead, Biden can appoint another justice who is not a diabetic. And Sotomayor, if I'm correct, is 70 years old. A spring chicken. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but 70 can be a pretty vital age, and it's really something for Dems to be kicking someone out who could live to their 90s. and who could write great law and could have a hand in history that will get us through this rough period. And we've seen what happens. We're going to appoint someone, and that is going to be confirmed before January. I don't think so. And are we going to pick someone that's as good as Sotomayor, whose judicial acumen, whose fair-handedness, whose insight into the path of law? Are we going to get somebody comparable? What if that person was, as some thought was adequate, was Garland? No, he's too old in this game to be nominated, so I'm not concerned about that. But we thought he would be a good Associate Justice. He's proven himself to be a terrible Attorney General, giving away the store in terms of not prosecuting and not acting and not doing what an Attorney General should do. So why would we in the world want to risk losing Judge Sotomayor? And, for example, Breyer, who was discouraged from staying on the court, they did the beat down with him, and he probably decided that his legacy would be dependent upon what happened should he stay and become ill. And as you can see, he's a vibrant, healthy man who's written and has been doing speaking about the future of the court and what that should mean. So should we have rushed him off the court so early when he could have given years more of insight and leadership on the court? And, people talk about, can we add judges to the court? Not with this Congress. Can we investigate the judges? Well, journalists may, but you see how totally effete some of our elected leaders are when it comes to them invoking the tools by which we could have a good and better government. So that's something to think about. And in the days ahead, what we can do that'll affect the judiciary is to get as many lower court U.S. district judges confirmed as we can. And I think some understand that. And I'm hoping that's what we'll see in the Senate. Now, as for Trump handing out favors, we've seen how Elon Musk is saying that our not-so-special counsel should be punished for what he did. And I made other remarks about this earlier, so I'm not going to repeat those. And I think it's very interesting, these relationships. Now, Trump is against electric because it challenges diesel, gas, oil. I think that's his reasoning. And he's taken a chunk of money from the oil industry to preserve these fossil fuel dangers. And who is one of his biggest aspirants, supporters, and a-hole buddies these days, but Elon Musk. And what does Elon Musk do? He makes electric cars. And you can say, well, they're in California. Well, they're elsewhere too. There are mega million, there's a bunch of mega million factories. One of them is in Shanghai. So it's a gigafactory. So how is Trump going to thread the needle of helping Elon Musk with his electric cars when he proposes to put tariffs on what comes from China and elsewhere? So that's kind of a cross section of where we are. People wonder what they should do going forward, and it is disconnect yourself from the results of the election in the sense that you think they indicate anything in reality about our community as a nation. Because the behind the scenes and out front misinformation, distortions, and slanders were all calculated to reach this end. Now, I am and have always been upset that we don't really fight. You can't win an argument you don't make. And we always kind of slip the punch and don't actually counterpunch. We don't come in and close. And so when somebody says, oh, it was an epic failure, well, to the extent it was, it's because we don't punch these people in the nose. And but the dictatorship that Trump would form is dependent upon him sliding past us. And that can't happen. That can't happen. Because people, almost any group you could imagine, the old, medical, Social Security, Medicaid, the young, education, vaccinations, scholarships, advanced learning, the people in the middle, unions who depend upon collective bargaining to receive their fair share of the profits based on their productivity. And you can go on and on. Women are not people that walk behind us. And I won't say shoulder to shoulder. I think it's not definable by prepositions, physical locations. Freedom is not constrained by these images of a relationship that is superior or inferior for one or the other. Because we begin with the premise that our difference as a nation is that everyone is equal. And that's a really good place to start. Because surely Trump is not equal. He's sky high above us all. And these people he's assembled around him are saying the most irresponsible things. And so we have to lick our wounds, even though we're not the ones out there that took the punches, and deal as we can, as we may, to fight and preserve what makes a difference to our quality of life. And so, with this short summary of where we stand, I think that's enough for now, don't you? So I say goodbye to you from my Cathedral of Trees, and I should be out tomorrow and talk to you again. Bye-bye.